We enter this new year together, we'd welcome you on Weekend in a very special way. And that's what we just did. Happy New Year to you. For those of us who are here, who have been here, who kept our company throughout 2020, in spite of some unwelcome surprises and some challenges, we're delighted to welcome you to a fantastic package, the first in 2021. This is a weekend deal. It gives us great pleasure to be telling you this today. Let's take an overview of events that characterized that 2020.
One by one, that is how the washing should be done.
What a year 2020 has been. A year many will not forget for a long time to come. The year was heavily defined by the COVID-19 pandemic, which was first identified in December 2019 in Wuhan, China. The World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern in January 2020. And Nigeria got an index case on February 27 when an Italian working in the country tested positive for the virus after arriving Lagos on a return flight from Milan.
When we had COVID-19 in Nigeria, almost all our medical facilities were comatose. None could attend to it. In fact, the federal government had to hastily build isolation centers, raise tents here and there to show that we are not prepared for emergencies in this country. And of course, because the pandemic came like a wildfire through those at the highest level of the social ladder, those who were not used to our medical facilities in the country, those who will never subject themselves to treatment in the country, because it came somehow from that ladder, they were shocked that what they thought was on ground that could take care of other people's life was not what was. And the system also failed them. So they also became victim of the system.
Another event in the year 2020 was the palliative saga, which spread like wildfire across the country. Palliative was one of the most used words in the year 2020, as countries sought to help cushion the impact of COVID-19. However, a part of the 86 million Nigerians living in abject poverty discovered warehouses where palliatives were stored and carted away food items.
The current government in Nigeria, led by President Muhammadu Buhari, intended that within the period that Nigerians are at home, the government should reach them directly, at least, by giving one or two things that will cushion the impact of their stay at home. But the leaders, those in critical government positions, that should ensure that palliatives get to the citizens who needed this thing most, refused to do it. There was just no reason. There was no justification. And of course, the rest is history. We saw what happened. The youths came out, took laws into their hands, invaded the locations, and took what belongs to them. That was avoidable. Nigeria should not be painted as a country full of hungry people.
Two major political events that defined the year 2020 was the loss of the governorship seat by PDP's Emeka Ihedioha to APC's Hope Uzodinma. Also, the Supreme Court sacked APC's David Leon as governor-elect of Bayelsa State, barely 24 hours to his inauguration.
It shows that Nigeria judiciary is coming up to the standard. It also shows that our courts are beginning to churn out judgment without fear or favor. It also shows that our electoral jurisprudence is taking a dimension that will be critically useful and beneficial to our electoral process. It simply means that if you are not qualified, if you don't have the requisite credentials, if you don't meet the conditions laid out by INEC, by the laws of Nigeria, you should not find your way there. Because if you do, the court will wait for you. And when they get you, they throw you out. Look at what happened. You see, you cannot put Lord Denning, MR. You say you cannot put something or nothing, I expect it to stand. You can't be unqualified and then smuggle your way in and think that you can be governor. You cannot, because people are watching. Your documents are public documents. The court is there.
2020 remains unforgettable with the NSAS protest, which was a pent-up frustration following years of human rights violations, extortions, torture, brutality and extrajudicial killings by SARS operatives and the police in general.
There was no reason why protesters would not listen to their leaders when the major point of that protest was for government to disband SARS. The president was proactive. Just 1 or 2 days into the protest, he asked the Inspector General of Police to disband SARS, and I think that was done. And also, roadmap was given. If that was one, or if that is the reason why that protest was initiated in the first place, that should have been enough for them to call off the protest. And if there are other issues, grounds for that protest, it should have been made known publicly. But like the tag, the name of that protest is End SARS. SARS was ended. What is the reason for the prolonged protest? That gave room for criminals to take advantage of it. So in the whole, at the end of the thing, what we can remember about that protest were memories of destruction, the memories of carnages, the memories of abuse of power.
2020 was indeed a unique year. What does 2021 hold in stock for Nigeria and Nigerians?
I want to see a prosperous nation. I want to see a country that will respect rule of law. I want to see a country that will attract economic investment to create more job opportunities for our teeming youth. I also want to see a country that will support education. To turn around, what we have today is not what we should have at this time in the history of this country. So I want to see a Nigeria that will be an Eldorado, a country that the world will be pleased to travel to.
Our focus on Weekend Deal today is a review of the year 2020. What were the success stories in 2020? What were the challenges and what areas do we need to improve upon?
That was put together by Francis Ogbe. Very in-depth, very enlightening, and it sets the tone for our various conversations on Weekend Deal today. Our successes, our challenges. Where are we now? How do we get to where we want to be? And we move on to Lagos, where NTA Channel 10 is talking about COVID-19, the pandemic, and Nigerians. In spite of all the information out there, some Nigerians have formed an opinion that may not be in everyone's best interest, or theirs for that matter. Let's see this.
The year 2020 is a year that man was humbled and humanity tried to catch up with the limits of science. And everything everyone talks about is COVID-19 that was ravaging the human existence. The novel infectious disease that originated in Wuhan, China in December 2019 has spread to many countries. The virus is transmitted from human to human via droplets. When an infected person coughs or sneezes, these droplets find their way into the mouth or nostrils of another person that is within a close range. Nigeria, the giant of Africa, also had its first case on the 27th of February 2020 in Lagos State, Nigeria, with an Italian citizen who works in Nigeria and brought the virus from Italy. So from Lagos, it spread all over Nigeria. Thus, different restrictions and protocols were introduced to reduce the spread of the virus. In fact, WHO commended the Nigerian government for the approach used to stem the tide of the pandemic in Nigeria. However, so many conspiracies trail the pandemic in Nigeria, while some believe that the virus was generated in a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Others believe that there is nothing like COVID-19 in Nigeria, but government was just using COVID-19 as a tool for getting funds from other nations. Some also believe that the number of confirmed cases are being inflated or cooked up, and mere malaria cases are recorded as COVID-19 cases.
From the recent results, it is apparent that COVID-19 is real, very, very real. And I think Nigerians at this point should take it serious, especially from all indications.
It's real, but it does not affect poor people.
Until the vaccine comes to Nigeria and people start getting vaccinated and start, destroying the effects gradually. But for now, it is real, and everybody needs to be conscious.
To me, I believe COVID-19 is real, but the number is outrageous. I don't think that number, the number of infected people, those numbers are real. I don't believe in such numbers.
Due to continuous rise in the number of cases and deaths due to the virus, despite government interventions and sensitization, we still have low testing rates for COVID-19 in the country. The numbers of ventilators and ICU beds are nothing to compare with. A population of 200 million in contrast with other African countries.
For us in Nigeria, it is very, very apparent that our population has been said to be over 200 million, but we don't have the accurate figure because it's been long we've had a census, and as of today, we don't have the actual figure of those that reside in Nigeria. So we can't give age range, we can't give the number of those who have been affected by the COVID-19 in commiseration to the number of the population size that we have in the country. And as such, we cannot determine how resources will be taken to all those affected people.
At present, the country is witnessing the second wave of COVID-19 like other countries of the world. But how prepared are we to tackle the increasing rate of the scourge in Nigeria?
What we need to do better is really in terms of community engagement. When you empower these local governments and give them their duties to be able to use the healthcare sector, communicate and engage people with people in the local communities, then government has eased some burden, and government can now start focusing on infrastructural development of the healthcare system so that this healthcare worker can give quality services to the people when they come to the facility. Also, government can now start focusing on finances because the COVID need a lot of finances. Now we are expecting to get vaccine, and the vaccine we are getting is going to cost Nigeria about 93 billion US dollars, and that is just for 40% of the entire population.
As it is, we can only hope that accessing safe and efficacious COVID-19 vaccines will be soon in Nigeria. However, prevention is better and less expensive than cure. It is safe to follow the precautionary measures till COVID-19 become a thing of the past.
Prevention is better than cure, as our colleagues in Lagos have reminded us today. Let's welcome our guests as we'll be talking about COVID-19 and Nigeria's journey thus far, and perhaps a bit about where we are headed. Dr. Innocent Uja is the former Director General of the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research. He's currently the President of the Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, and the Vice Chancellor of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo, Benue State. Welcome.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year.
COVID-19.
Better to 2021.
Indeed. And it would be so if all hands are on deck, working assiduously and taking off right from the beginning of the year, like we're about to do now. COVID-19 journeyed into Nigeria last year. And from that time up till now, it's become a recurring decimal. Everybody's familiar with COVID-19 now. But we just heard from the feature now that some people are of the opinion that it's a disease for the wealthy. Some are also of the opinion that the numbers are being altered. Some are also afraid that this vaccine that is coming may not be in Nigerians' best interests. Tell us about from when it came and up to this time.
Well, thank you very much. And the new year has come, but 2020 can be remembered for very bad things. The first is COVID-19 invasion on the 27th of February, 2020, where the whole world was unprepared. Certainly Nigeria was not prepared. It was not prepared because it was unknown, or it was not thought that it will ever come to Nigeria. And the level of seriousness, a disease that's novel, a disease that's not known, a disease that had not been studied, a virus that nobody knows anything about. So obviously it came like a bang. And of course, when it came, it hit us very badly because we were not unprepared. We didn't even know what it was. The epidemiological characterization was not there, i.e., who is affected, where, what, why. These were not there. However, the federal government set up its own organ for the national response, and that's the Presidential Task Force, which was an appropriate thing to do. Despite the fact that our feeling was that there were not sufficient number of scientists in that committee.
On board.
The Nigerian Medical Association at the time protested that. But we needed to move on. Of course, there were a lot of challenges because not much was known or is still known about the disease. Challenges of even to take a decision on what to do. Challenges of the response. Challenges of the things that are needed. For instance, you recall that as an infection virus, as an infectious virus that we now know spreads very rapidly, the training for the infection and prevention control was not nationwide. Few doctors have been trained on infection prevention and control. However, because of the widespread infection, the pandemic, affecting not just Nigeria, but the whole world and all states of the Federation were affected. And therefore, the training and capacity, yes, we have the capacity, but we need to do training and retrain.
But did you get on board with that quickly?
Well, everything, we started wobbling in every aspect. I do not think we were quite fast in that response and in many other responses that we needed to put in place to appropriately ensure that we contain the disease very quickly. Probably is not the fault of anybody. It was just that it was not prepared for. Unlike Ebola, in 2014, where there was a lot of awareness and the fact that it may come, there was no preparation for this. This just came bam from China.
But eventually we took off. All hands were on deck. From April, May, June, we began to see we began to make motions and movement that were making sense to Nigerians, and many people came on board and latched onto the thought about taking more preventive measures. The NCDC too said anything about guidelines.
Again, you recall that putting hands on the deck is a different thing altogether. If you recall, when we started, like I say, we didn't know the biology of virus. The issue of the face mask was not there. It took the government and the PTF and the whole world, time to decide whether in fact it was necessary to use a face mask. Because nobody knew anything about the disease. So the reality is that, yes, it was motion with some movement, because I wouldn't say it was motion without movement. But the truth is that our response could have been better if we had all the compartments, if we had enough time to plan, if we planned very well. Because let me just tell you one aspect very clearly, and I say so. There are two components that are missing. First of all, the information dissemination sensitization of the public was not there.
On time.
On time. Even now, it's not sufficient. The National Orientation Agency should have gone to town with the correct information, because this was subject to all sorts of things. Speculations, rumor mongering. Some people say it doesn't exist, and people still do not believe. Some people still do not believe that COVID is real.
Someone just said now that it's a disease for the wealthy.
Unfortunately, that's the misinformation and disinformation. And that is the problem we face in this country. Imagine a disease that nobody had known before. Some charlatans call themselves herbal medicine practitioners, say they can cure COVID. And that actually dissipates the attention of Nigerians.
From the core matter, and
yes,
those may have a story.
Simple intervention of using face mask, of regular hand washing, whether it's COVID or not. We had always preached that people should wash their hands after leaving the toilet, after using inappropriate. We had been doing that. Public health physicians have been doing that. And then, of course, social distancing. People did not just take it. And that is where I thought the intervention of the National Orientation Agency should have come in, so that we then dismantle all misinformation, disinformation, and rumor mongering. Because Nigeria, what thrives most is rumor mongering. What is it that we have been doing that had not been well or good enough?
But tell us about the areas we have done well.
Improve on it.
Tell us about the areas we have done well with regard to prevention, manageability,
I think
and the way forward.
Yes, I think the area that we've done well is the political will of Mr. President. I say this because he quickly put the PTF together, and that is the political component. He's not the one to go and do the coordination rest. And then, of course, at the initial stage, I don't know what happens now, the private sector came to the aid of Nigeria and Nigerians. They provided a lot of funds for that. I don't know how that, but at least we know that they came to support the federal government. So in that area, we're doing well. Now, there are very many areas that are not doing well, and some we can be faulted, some we could not. For instance, every day we get report of the number of cases that are tested positive. Now, what is the denominator of that number that became positive? What's the denominator? It's not enough to say 1,000. Today is 1,074 that became positive. How many tests did you do to generate that, to get that positive number of 1,074?
Okay.
Because we can't just say...
But isn't that your responsibility to find out?
Well, that is what we are saying. The NCDC should tell us. Because that is their responsibility. They should tell us, we have done 1,000 tests, 500 are positive. That's 50%.
Okay.
But you say you have a figure of 1,074. How many tests did you do? And mapping it, Lagos does that. Lagos State does that. Lagos has mapped the whole of Lagos State. They now can focus in areas of greatest need, i.e., where are these cases coming from in the local governments of Lagos. I know that because I follow up all the things that are happening. The NCDC has never told us the number of tests that they've done from a particular area. For instance, you can say, okay, in Kano State, we did this number. This is the number that is positive. Then you convert it to percentage. And it should be that each place. And then when you do that, it gives a trend. Because sometime last year, they say the number was decreasing.
Yes.
But they never told us how many tests they did that the number was decreasing. And this is science, and it must be reproducible. So what we are saying is that, yes, they are doing their best, but they should listen to experts also. Because stakeholders should be reviewing. And that is where I thought that we have not done well in areas of research. Data.
You are in the right place right now to expand research and bring solutions for Nigerians, especially with the position you've held before at the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research.
Yes.
Nigerians are looking at the Nigerian Medical Association to bring a homegrown solution in terms of a vaccine. Where are we with that?
Well, let me just tell you, what the Nigerian Medical Association has is the capacity.
Okay.
They have the capacity, they have the manpower to do it, because we have doctors in various areas of specialization. Some are great scientists, both within and outside of this country. But you see, it needed to be budgeted for. To produce vaccine is very, very expensive. Even to train the manpower for this specific assignment requires a lot of funding. Now, the question that you and I will want to ask is, in this national response, where is research placed? I know that the Nigerian Institute of Medical Research is doing its own bit. For instance, they produce test kits that produces a fast result.
They will or they are?
They have. It was launched. I saw it. It was launched. So that is the best. What is the investment? Financial investment. You see, these things are not done by wish. When I was in the institute, as I said, I cried very loudly that research is not given a priority. When we talk about research, we're not talking about medicine alone. Even engineering, agriculture, we need to invest very heavily, because it is research that drives the development. When now we are talking now, we are falling over one another now that vaccine has been produced. How?
And we have a Nigerian at the helm.
Not just one. We have many. I have a friend in Emory, in Atlanta, who is participating also in the research. Yes, I'm aware.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you're getting first-hand knowledge.
Of course, we do. We interface. We discuss. We have just not one Nigerian.
But how are you not going to bring that to bear on our situation here?
Well,
are you making headway yet?
How would I make headway? How?
You are the president of the Nigerian Medical Association.
The president, and I say we have the capacity, but we need funding. And I'm saying that in doing so, there must be strategic drive to ensure that this is done. One, apart from funding, there must be a critical stakeholder to discuss this. You see, science is not done in a room like that.
We're very excited that this conversation is taking off from here.
Yes.
It's interesting, and I'm sure it will not end here. I think as the president, you need to make very bold and obvious steps to get the conversation going with the parties needed. But let's talk about the different types of vaccines. We've been hearing a lot of story about our DNA will be altered. So, I watched a video where an American nurse, after being given the vaccine, she was supposed to tell on live television, supposed to tell the viewers about the benefits, and she fainted. 2 weeks ago, I read up something in the United States as well, where a medical doctor was explaining why his colleague, who is also a doctor, had taken the first vaccine but had tested positive for COVID. He now made us understand that sometimes, or with some of the vaccines, you need to wait 21 days after you take the first one before you take the second one. And in between that time, you can be vulnerable. When this vaccine comes in January, and that's where we are now, how should Nigerians comport themselves to receive it? Who is eligible? Is it really going to come in January?
Well, let me just answer the last question. Whether it will come in January is not within the purview of the Nigerian Medical Association. Nigerian Medical Association doesn't have the fund, it doesn't have the instrument. All we do is to advocate. The power of enforcement is left to the government. So we expect, if they say it's coming, why would we not believe that it will come? So we expect that it will come. The other thing is that, you see, do you know that water, excess injection of water can lead to water intoxication.
But shouldn't the information start spreading now before the vaccine comes? Because we
Yes.
hear there's more than one. Which one is Nigeria going to bring forth? How do we know who is eligible? Can every Nigerian access it?
When you are asking this type of question, as if I have the powers to determine which one comes.
I thought you would have the information.
No, I don't. And we do not. Again, because probably it's in the process.
Okay.
And if it's in the process, it is difficult. Policy making processes are not as fast as you will expect, and it's not exposed as well. So when they are ready, they will let us know.
Fantastic.
Because first of all, we are told that it will come. We never knew it was going to come.
We believe it's going to come.
Of course, we must believe.
Yes.
Unless you don't believe on the government.
No, we do.
If we do,
absolutely.
Yes, if we do, then we should wait.
Absolutely.
We should wait, and then we should be given a timeline. Like you said, information dissemination. It should start from now. We don't wait until it comes, then we begin to. And the other thing too, that is not just information. We must be ready. The supply chain management must be prepared, because we cannot bring in the vaccine and begin to say, where are the free refrigerators that will take about minus 17 and minus 80 degrees centigrade.
Okay, great.
We must be ready.
Great. Those are medical terms that we hope that will be handled very soon.
Yeah.
But finally, Nigerians are here. We are on the receiving end. We are the ones who have been told to take all necessary precautions. Now in 2021, based on what we have learned from 2020, how ought we to enter this year to ensure that we keep COVID-19 at bay as much as possible and stop the spread?
Well, I think the least expensive way of containing the disease is to follow the NCDC protocol of using face mask. This is a face mask I brought, but I know that there is social distancing. Therefore, I'm not using it while I'm here. But as soon as I leave here, I'll use it in public places. That's number one. Number two is to use hand sanitizer very regularly, or wash hands with soap very regularly. And then, of course, the social distancing. I have said before that the issue of social distancing has failed. Maybe in few places, when I entered the plane, I find that everybody is using face mask. And many of the churches now are also using the face mask. And I saw on the TV yesterday that they crossover there was some element of social distancing. But if we can sustain that in our information and sensitization of the public, the problem too is that many Nigerians do not believe that COVID-19 exists. If you don't believe in something, there's no way you can take precaution on this. So we need to mount very massive and extensive and intensive enlightenment. Let people know that it is. Unfortunately, some people say they have not seen dead bodies littered all over the place. We need to have that. How many times have we seen people who are dying in the hospital? We see their bodies on the street. Why should
so Nigerians should be wise?
Yes, and it's very simple. It's inexpensive, and therefore even the cost of vaccine can be reduced if we are able to contain it by... If
everybody is sensible, responsible, and responsive.
Exactly, and listen to experts. They must listen to experts.
We want to thank you very much. And the expert has spoken. We have been talking with Dr. Innocent Uja. He's the president of the Nigerian Medical Association. He's also the vice chancellor of the Federal University of Health Sciences, Otukpo, in Benue State. I want to remind our viewers that Senator Magnus Abe will be our guest on the program today. So stay with us. For now, we go on a break. Dr. Uja, thank you for making the time. We'll continue to enlighten Nigerians.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year. And let's comply with the NCDC protocol so that we can reduce the burden of the disease and save more money for other developmental issues.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to have your company on Weekend Deal. Just like always, remember our program is interactive. We'd like you to send your send communication our way. Be a part of our chat. We spoke with Dr. Innocent Uja, President, Nigerian Medical Association. We'll speak with Senator Magnus Abe. He's already here. But we'll take a feature from our sister network center in Lagos, talking about recession in 2020. How far? What's ahead for us?
Following Nigeria's first confirmed case of COVID-19 virus infection, the performance of the economy soon reflected the residual effects of the lockdown, thus slowing down economic activities in Lagos, Nigeria's economic hub, and other cities across the country. Thus, Nigeria slipped into a recession again. What really went down the line?
It is a global recession because Nigeria is not an exception. US, UK, Japan, and all across the world, they were all into the recession. All recession is also added due to the closure of the border. The closure of the border, because of the presence of the Nigerian economy to the entire West African country, it is very, very significant. And closure to the border reduced the output of many of our industry who sell across West African country and also Central Africa like Chad and Cameroon.
Our economy is a monoproduct economy. That means we depend almost entirely on money coming from the export of crude oil. Part of what coronavirus caused was a crash in the price of oil in the international market. And so once the price of oil crashed, it now affected the Nigerian economy, negatively. Our trading partners, other countries of the world where we import a lot of things from, even to run our companies here, we're also having serious economic challenges. And so supply chain was seriously disrupted.
Nigeria, the Africa's biggest economy, plunged into recession in 2016 as a result of the fall in gross domestic product, but soon emerged from the troubled waters the following year. Were there lessons learned?
Over the years, including recent years, Nigeria has not been selling anything substantial for a rainy day. Our economy is also import dependent, meaning that we import so many things that if we decide to use their local substitutes, things will not be this bad.
However, the 2020 recession was mainly as a result of stringent measures put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19 virus, just like in other countries around the world. It is therefore believed that economic strategies will be deployed to ensure rapid economic growth in the year 2021.
As we have seen in the budget, is a deficit budget, meaning that the government intends to spend more into the economy so that the economy can easily recover. We have about 5.3 trillion deficit. I want it to mean pumping more money to the economy. As we are all aware that the borders, 4 borders were open, and the government promised that the rest of the borders will be open before the end of the year. And this is a welcome development, meaning that more of our output will cut across Central Africa, West Africa, because a lot of those neighbors depend on our output product, and that is a welcome development.
Analysts gave measures to be taken to avoid a reoccurrence of the recession in future.
The insecurity in the land has to be handled properly so that people have to be alive to invest, because until and unless there's massive investment into this economy, and so the economy becomes more productive on a long-term basis, we cannot effectively come out of recession. We cannot start talking about effective diversification, because for instance, we are depending on oil. Why not look at other solid minerals that are in abundance in this economy, so we can go into commercial, exploitation and exploration of these solid minerals.
Though Nigeria's economic growth has been fragile due to the ravaged effect of COVID-19 pandemic and other events in 2020, it is believed that with strict adherence to measures put in place by the government, Nigeria's economy will grow better and faster in 2021.
Wow. That was an earful, a head full, a brain full. Thank you, Lagos Network Center. You enlighten us, and we're going to continue with that conversation with our guest, Senator Magnus Abbey. He's from Rivers State, but he says very clearly he's a detribalized Nigeria. It's great to have you with us on Weekend Deal.
Thank you, Thelma. It's great to be here.
Fantastic. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And I'm glad to see that we're both in red.
Wow. Thinking in rhythm. Great. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you.
That last package was talking about recession in 2020. And this is just a few days into 2021. If there really is recession, it's unlikely that it has, we've come out of it. And he also tied security to recession and said that people have to be alive before they can work assiduously to grow Nigeria's economy. But tell us about recession first. Where are we?
Well, first of all, I'm sure that all Nigerians realize that 2020 was a very challenging year across the globe. And globally, the world economy lost over $1.3 trillion. And that money includes the one you don't have now and I don't have as well and other people don't have. That's how things work. The second thing people must also realize is that Nigeria is a monoproduct economy. We're basically oil dependent. And last year, we got to a point where, even if you had oil cargoes, you had to pay people, to carry your cargo. You couldn't sell it. It was that bad. At the point, the price of oil was at zero because planes were not flying, cars were not moving. And so all the storage facilities in the world were full. So there was nowhere to sell the oil. And you can imagine the impact that had on the Nigerian economy. So first of all, if you look at that kind of scenario, I think we must give some credit to the government and to the NNPC, the Minister of Petroleum, and then the Minister of State for being able to manage our monoproduct economy through what was a very, very difficult crisis for the entire world, but particularly difficult for Nigeria because we rely on just one product. And that was the product that was most affected by the crisis. So definitely there will be some serious economic hit on our economy moving forward. The second thing I would like to say is that people must realize that poverty can happen naturally. I mean, if you just stay in your house and you do nothing, you're bound to be poor. If you're a farmer and you don't go to the field to till your farms, there'll be no food. So poverty can happen naturally, but wealth must be created. So we can talk all we want, but there are causative factors that create wealth. And except you identify those factors and promote them, you just can't get rich by sitting down and talking about being rich. That's just the way it works. So if you look at the economies that are rebounding out of the coronavirus crisis, like China, Canada, and some of these countries, it is because they have been able to educate their citizens and secure the cooperation of their citizens in managing their public health system before you can then go on to manage the economy. Because whether you like it or not, except you're able to get a handle on the virus, it will be difficult to grow the economy
at this time.
Yes.
I know we often say that Nigerians, we have this never say die attitude. We're resilient people. We're hardworking for the most part, but perhaps sometimes there may be a lack of ingenuity or creativity in some areas. But talking about a monoproduct economy, there's been concerted efforts to bring agriculture to the fore, to make it very attractive, to provide loans and capital when needed. Where are we with that before we talk about our social investment programs by the government?
I think talking about agriculture, I know that before the advent of the coronavirus pandemic, we had made quite substantial progress in terms of trying to grow agriculture in this country. particularly with rice and with, in fact, I remember one stunning encounter I had with some young man who was doing snail farming and had made so much money from snail farming before the coronavirus thing hit and all that. So in terms of agriculture, we have been doing relatively well, growing that awareness and growing that capacity. But what I always say to Nigerians is that I don't think that Nigerians lack the capacity or the hard work and all that to make progress. I think what is really missing in this country is the fact that, you know, people feel cheated a lot of times because they don't feel that the system is fair to everybody or that the system is giving everybody
It's treating everybody the same way.
I
There's
think
no level playing
yes.
field.
So if there is a level playing field and people feel that you can get what you get, not by who you know or by who you are, but by what the system offers all Nigerians equally, like access to loans, access to facilities, even access to support where you need it. I think that people will focus a lot more on working because the reward, what you have, is what you put in. So I think that dealing with some of those misrepresentations of how the system functions would help better. Because I have seen a situation where even if you do everything overboard, everything is clear that this thing is like this, everybody is being treated fairly and evenly, people just don't believe it.
So some reorientation needs to start.
Yes.
Perhaps you can start from the bottom and we build it upwards.
We need to, it should start everywhere, bottom up, everybody.
Local government areas, state level.
Everybody needs to understand that for Nigeria to work, all Nigerians need to know and believe that the country is treating everybody equally and fairly, and that what you give is what you get.
It's what you get.
Yes.
Fantastic.
If we're able to, you know, go that route, it will change a lot of things. People will work harder. People will be happier. You know, people will put in their best because I think that will work. That will be something for us to look at moving forward.
It's fantastic. Something happened last year, happened in many faces, many parts of the country. Hashtag NSAS. And many even say, experts and Nigerians, that the impact is still being felt in different parts of Nigeria, even in our economy. How did Nigeria recover? How have we come from that incident last year? Where are we now with it? Any lessons learned?
Well, I think that by now, a lot of people have come to realize that the NSAS protest was not just about NSAS. I think it was a reflection of some deeper, you know, ill feeling. Resentment in the system. And I believe that the government response to NSAS as NSAS was commendable because the president, as soon as he saw the demands and saw that they were reasonable and justified, he immediately acceded to everything that was demanded. But as the facts later came to show, that really didn't assuage the feelings of those who were aggrieved, and the protest continued and actually got out of hand. So I think that a lot of people feel that part of the reason the protest didn't end at the point of the demands of the protesters was because it was then politically fueled to try to destabilize the system. I won't rule that out completely, but I also know that there are quite a few resentments, particularly on the part of the young people, towards the way our country has gone over the years. And some of those issues that they complained about, they need to be reassured that the system is genuinely working to correct and reflect those ill feelings and then promote what would be the more acceptable Nigerian consensus, particularly on issues like security, like the economy, opening up the space and all that. All those are issues that we really need to tackle moving forward.
It's interesting. At the time, many said, good idea, but you should give room for conversation. give time for what you have asked for to be done, but there didn't seem to be a break. But anyway, we've learned, we are learning. Nigeria is in the process, and we're still building. Security has become a major issue in Nigeria. In fact, at a point, some farmers say they could not. Talking about food security, some farmers say they are unable to go to the farm. Some say they are required to pay a certain amount of rent. Some can't even go at all. Traveling on the roads in some parts of the country, some say it's ill-advised. I don't know. Where are we now? This is a new year. People are making new plans.
Well, the things I will say to Nigerians about this whole New Year thing is that the causative factors of some of our challenges don't even know that it's a new year. We are the ones who know it's a new year. The virus does not know it's a new year. So it will keep doing what it was doing if we keep doing what we were doing in the old year. Insecurity does not know it's a new year. So all these challenges don't know it's a new year. But what I know, which I have been saying consistently, that a time of great challenges is also a time of great opportunities. And what we need to do is to seize the opportunities that these challenges offer and then overcome our challenges.
Tell us about some.
Well, first of all, I talked about setting a gold standard for that we will consider the Nigerian standard, which is that everybody is going to be treated fairly. If you even look at the security agencies, a lot of times when you talk to our security our security personnel, they complain bitterly. What do they complain about? The reward system within the security agencies is not reflected in the effort that people put in. So you have police officers, military officers who feel that they're working so hard, but when opportunities come within the system, it doesn't go to those who are putting in their best. It goes to those who have the right connections and contacts within the system. This may not be true. Like I said, a lot of times these feelings are not
based on facts.
But people need to, the way the system works need to be opened up so that people understand that this is the target of those in authority, is that everybody should be treated fairly and equally and that you'll be rewarded according to what you put in. I think that once those benchmarks are visible to those operating within the system, everybody will put in their best. And I believe that that is at the core of some of the challenges that we have. The second thing I would also say about security is that security is not one person's problem. It's a collective thing, because at the end of the day, you are safe if you are safe. And if you're not safe, everything else means nothing. So I believe that as citizens, we need to take greater interest in our own safety. Look at, for example, the issue of tying our phones to our identities. This has been on for years, and no matter how you do it, people would seek to circumvent it. And they don't understand that by creating these circumventions, they are at the end of the day helping to put themselves and their own families also at risk. Now the government has come out with a position, if you don't do it, we switch off your phone so you can't use it. And all of a sudden, everybody's
running
everybody's behaving as if this is new, but this has been on for years. Right when I was secretary to government in Rivers State, which was more than 10 years ago or so, we had these meetings and discussed these things and made these plans, but people just never take them seriously. So I think that Nigerians need to understand that we too have a contribution to make to our security. For example, I watch programs on investigations in other countries, crime investigation. You always find out that the police get most of their help from the public. How much help are Nigerians prepared to give to the security agencies in this country? People will know something, they'll refuse to talk.
Some say they don't trust
communities, even harbor criminals, protect them, support them, and claim that these particular criminals are their own criminals
and have contributed.
Yes. So how do we get out of that? You know, even when you talk of corruption, when you charge somebody with corruption, you'll find his village people coming with drums to the court to be beating drums in support of the person who is accused of having stolen their money. So I still think that at the end of the day, the Nigerian people have a role to play in building the kind of Nigeria that we want. It's not going to happen by accident. It is not going to happen by prayers alone. It is not going to happen by wishes, but can only happen by sacrifice and effort of all Nigerians. And we need to commit to that. If not, I regret to say that if we don't change our approach and our attitude towards a lot of our challenges, that it is 2021 will not make much of a difference.
That's interesting. But the people can. The people who are in this year, if we've not been doing things right in the past, who are learning now, we need to learn now.
New opportunities.
As we wrap up our conversation, what are the words you use to inspire Nigerians, motivate them, help us to be on high alert and to have foresight in everything that we do?
What I would say to all Nigerians is that we are in a new century. This is the best time in the history of mankind for anybody to be alive. This is a time when we can do things based on knowledge. This is a time when we can also avoid doing things based on knowledge because we know what works and we know what does not work. We have all the tools to create the kind of country that we want, and the knowledge to create that country is there. All we have to do is to identify and agree on the kind of Nigeria that we desire. And then the pathway to achieve that Nigeria is clear to all of us. What do we do more of? And what do we do less of? That's just what it is at the end of the day. And I believe that knowing Nigerians the way I've come to know them, there is nothing that we set our minds to that we cannot achieve. And achieving a better Nigeria that works for most Nigerians, achieving a country that will be the envy of the world and the pride of the black man is something we can do very easily in this country. And this nation has capacity to do that.
Fantastic. I'm inspired. I'm taking this message out everywhere I go, especially in this first month, and spread it as far as it will go. Thank you very much, Senator Magnus Abbey. Very enlightening discussion there. We want to thank you, our viewers, who kept our company on through 2020. We thank you for starting the year again with us. We promise to do our due diligence, not just sometimes, but all the time, to bring you authentic information, to entertain you, to educate you, to enlighten you, to keep our promises, to be patriotic citizens, and to encourage you to do the same. Not forgetting that COVID-19 is real. While we await the vaccine, let us all abide by all the guidelines put out there by the NCDC. Tell your friends, tell your family, don't take it lightly. When all of us work together, when we're responsive and responsible, we prevent further spread. We succeed in stopping COVID-19. We keep Nigeria safe, and things can go back to the way that they were. God bless Nigeria. A happy new year to you. We'll be here again tomorrow morning, bright and early, for another super fantastic package of Weekend Deal, taking a retrospective look at the year 2020. Have yourself a great day. My name is Thelma.